Hi, hello again, everybody, and welcome in to another edition of the Racing Angle. This episode titled Team Previews Part 1, Episode 8 already. Can you believe we've done 8 of these bad boys? Man, time just flies when you're having fun. We're getting so close to the season. I'm Logan Morris, or whatever's left of him, and we'll guide you for the next hour or so. But this week, I don't do it alone, and we thank God for that. I hope your new year continues to be off to a wonderful start. Yes, Freddie, it is time to rumble, and I'll be rumbling as much as I can. Luckily, I won't rumble alone this week. This week, I got a special guest, one of my dearest friends in life. A man I love like a brother. He's a pastor. He is the founder and host of Running on Scuffs. He's just a swell all around fella. Let's bring him in, Mr. Justin Seeger.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Oh, good to have you, brother. Good to have you. Welcome to the Racing Angle. We've done a couple of podcasts together over the years at a lot of different places. Welcome to the Racing Angle.
Well, it is. It's truly a privilege to be here. This is the first time that I'm dusting off the mic in 2026. So the Racing Angle will be a great test session, if you will. I know we don't have January testing as much as we used to, but a little bit of testing for myself here, and so couldn't imagine a better place to be to knock off the little bit of ring rust we got.
Me, you, and a little bit of tunnel time. How about that? Me, you, and a little bit of tunnel time. How about that? But before we get into team previews, because that's what we have you on, we're going to dive in. But I want to take a few minutes when anyone comes on the Racing Angle, and especially somebody I love so dearly. I want to take a few minutes and get to know them a little bit. Justin, walk us through, how did your motorsports fandom, your NASCAR fandom, how did that get started?
Well, I've been a NASCAR fan, a motorsports fan for years now, ever since I was so young that I could barely speak right. Of course, I can't speak right fully now. I'm from the South, but when I was using my age as the reason, I saw a bright 38 M&M car driving around the track, and all of a sudden I was like, well, that's going to be my driver because I like M&Ms. And so I became an Elliott Sadler fan, and then as time went on, I got to grow and watch him turn into the 19, and then ultimately, sadly, Elliott Sadler left the Cup Series, and then so I was lost. I was floating around looking for a new driver, and lo and behold, I found that person in the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. back in 2015, and I rode with him for a decade. I got to celebrate a championship. And then of course along that path, started getting into the motorsports media side of things, where I've got to meet some great people, yourself included, and have gotten to know some wonderful people, got to work at some wonderful places, and then of course now being the host and founder of Running on Scuffs is really cool. So yeah, it's now I'm still sporting the 19. If you can't tell, I know that might grind your gears a little bit there, buddy, but always here for the 19 fandom. Still with Briscoe, like Christopher Bell a little bit too, which I was told we were going to get to talk about a little bit later tonight. So.
We certainly will. Just a couple more questions for you, and then we'll get right into it. So you founded Running on Scuffs. We actually, I'm technically a co-founder, right? I mean, I'm one of the OGs. Walk us through, if you don't mind, your decision on how you founded Running on Scuffs. What inspired that? Just a lot to unpack there. Go for it.
Yeah, the decision. I worked with a lot of great media group, a lot of great people beforehand, but sometimes you just like to be in control of things and
do your own thing. Yeah,
So that was a position that I found myself in 2022, and that's what we just that's what I decided to do. You're a founding member. We a group of us came and decided to do our own thing. You know what that's like, and we've still got a great group of people. Some have come, some have gone, all of which are still wonderful friends to Running on Scuffs. And we're still going. It's crazy that we're getting ready for season number 5 for Running on Scuffs, which is crazy.
Yeah, we ought to call you guys the prospectors at this point. And then I want to talk a little bit about. Again, I know we're going to talk team previews. I want to get to that, but I'd feel remiss if I didn't ask. These days, not only do you do Running on Scuffs and balance a whole host of things, you're a Mississippi State Bulldog, but the most important thing in life at this point is probably your journey with Christ. And so, can you talk a little bit about that, what you're doing now, and where you are on that journey, and kind of what your long-term plan is?
Yeah. So when I was in, truth be told, a little bit of long story short, I was always it was always on my radar to pursue ministry.
Mm-hmm.
I always kind of envisioned it as a retirement plan, but the Lord has been wonderful to me, and He had decided that His timing was better than my own, as it commonly is, and therefore I felt the calling very strongly in about summer of 2023, and decided to get involved in my church a little bit more and find out what that entails. And so I'm now on this journey towards ministry. And so my Sundays are now full, not just of NASCAR, but also of church work as well. I serve my own church here in Mississippi as the pastor, and we're just not looking back. So it's sermon work on Sunday and podcast work on Monday. That's how we do it.
You talk about winning on Sunday and selling on Monday. That's big time right there. But no, I think that's incredible, and as somebody that has witnessed your transformation during that journey, just incredible stuff, and obviously, right, as fun as this is, nothing more important than salvation. So just my hat's off to you on that, truly and sincerely.
Yeah, if anybody wants any opinions on racing or theology, I'm willing to talk about either.
Pit road preacher, baby, pit road preacher. Yeah,
that's it.
All right. Well, with that, anything else you want to say? We'll give you a chance to plug some more throughout the show. But anything else you want to say or talk about before we get to these team previews?
Look, I am strapped in and I'm ready for the ride. So let's get into it.
All right. With that, I think there was a great debate among the production team here at the Racing Angle. And when I say production team, I mean producer Peyton, who we know and love, and she's much better than I. How do I want to start these? You want to go bottom up? Do you want to start at the top? And I said, well, damn it, we're going to have Justin Seeger on from Running on Scuffs, and we love him like a brother. And I mean, we're even going to go down to Mississippi this fall and be a part of the wedding. And so I said, we got to start strong. We got to start big. And so we're going to start these team previews off huge. And we're going to start with HMS. All right, Hendrick Motorsports. That's right. That's our first team preview of 2026. Again, you talk about starting big. They're as big as you get, Justin. I mean, let's break it down. They're a Chevrolet manufacturer. Of course, they got the 4 cars. They got grandfathered in way back. The status is championship or bust, right? They're kind of like Ohio State out there. They're Alabama. If you don't win at all, something has gone wrong. Something has gone absolutely wrong. And I don't know if Rick Hendrick is a BTA guy like Nick Saban, but it just feels like he might be a BTA guy like Nick Saban. Maybe he likes the oatmeal cream pies as much as Nick Saban does. I don't know. Anywho, When you talk about HMS, you talk about their depth, their consistency. They are the creme de la creme at this point of teams, right? I mean, the only one that was even comparable was the original Petty Enterprises, and they have long passed that in every statistical measure. The only thing that ever stops them is really their own mistakes, not what somebody else has done. It's a pit problem. It's Alan Gustafson has messed up, or whoever it may be. It's Cliff Daniels has made the wrong call. So it's very rare that we say Hendrick Motorsports is slow. So with that, let's take a look at their 2025. They've got multiple wins, of course. They had elite speed every week. If they had some issues, it was pit road penalties and late race execution errors and some missed opportunities. Sometimes they're sloppy. But in the 2026 format, let's talk about that real quick. As you know, we're moving away from your favorite format on the planet, the elimination style playoff. We're going to the chase. Give me your thoughts on the chase, and then tell me: do you think that benefits the new format, which is the old format? Do you think that benefits Hendrick Motorsports? There's a lot to unpack. Go for it.
Well, I've been very open mouthed about my displeasure of going back to the chase. I know the majority of the fan base wanted it. I was, look, if I've determined that if Joey Logano and I are the only ones that are going to die on that hill, then we're going to die on that hill together. I like the playoffs. Do I think it was the most fair format? No. Do I think it was the most entertaining format? In my opinion, yes. I think having that winner take all one race finale was a good thing. Personally, I felt like the middle ground for me was more of a 3-3-4 format that had been thrown around. But the chase is where we're at, and I am every day taking a baby step closer to accepting that. So right now we live in the chase format, and I told you this. I think that if you are a fan of a team that is not Hendrick Motorsports, Joe Gibbs Racing, or Team Penske, you can kiss your chances of winning a championship goodbye. That is, and that's a bold prediction. There's a lot of years still to go for this, and a lot of ever-changing pieces. But I think you're going to see a chase format champion come from one of those three stables.
Well, I'm not going to say I disagree with you, and I'm not going to say that it was personal. It just felt personal. I actually I don't really disagree with you. That's why those are the three teams we're kicking off with here. All right, so let's get into the specifics of those teams. Let's start out with the defending champion, Kyle Larson. Obviously, he has the highest ceiling in the organization. He is, in my opinion, at this point right now, he is the most naturally talented driver in the field. As far as I think you can put him in anything, and he could absolutely win. I think he could win a Legacy Motor Club. I think the only thing that he'd have trouble winning in is and I'm not saying that he'd run off 5 of them. I'm saying that he could find a way to win in anything that's not a Rick Ware car. And that's no disrespect to Rick Ware. We just know they have financial struggles. There is a comment from Freddie I want to get to you. Alex Bowman is in the hot seat. If he doesn't win this year, I can see him not returning in 27. And possibly Connor Zilla's getting that ride in 27. We're going to talk about Alex Bowman in a moment. I want Justin to chew on that comment. Just taste it a little while. Just taste it, and then we'll get to it. Again, he wins anywhere, anytime, does he? So here's my question. Does his championship odds go up under the chase format?
I think Kyle Larson's chances actually go down somewhat.
Lay it on me.
I just think I think Kyle Larson is, if I'm to pick a driver to win a race for me on any given week, I'm going to pick Kyle Larson. Mm-hmm. But oftentimes he's either leading the pack or he's outside the top 10. And I think maybe with the chase format, they race it a little bit differently. But I think some of his competitors, even some of his teammates, are more consistent of drivers, and I think that would benefit them in a chase format over something like Kyle Larson. Now, do I think Kyle Larson has a 0% chance to win a championship? No, I think he's going to be one of the names we talk about for years to come in this format. But I think as far as comparing consistency to getting race wins, I actually like Kyle Larson in the race win category more than I do the getting being consistent.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I actually agree with you. I mean, because a championship is a championship, and I don't. This is not the week to debate the validity or the woulda, shoulda, coulda of a championship. He's coming off his second championship, but I think it's also undeniable, and I'm not trying to take anything away. He backdoored a little bit into it. I don't think that should be a controversial statement. It doesn't mean it's not valid. Doesn't mean he didn't win it. He certainly did. Props to him. But I actually agree with you. I don't think he certainly is not a threat right now on the super speedways. He is a non-factor. You expect him to crash or have an electrical issue, and that's amazing when you consider you're HMS. You're the most talented driver in the field, and at the 6 quote unquote super speedway tracks, I don't. I'd have to be a desperate man to pick Kyle Larson. Like, it would have to be I have to hope Kyle Larson gets points so I can advance. That's really weird to me. It always has been. So I agree with you. Every now and again he goes through a stretch. It's not long. It's only 2 or 3 races, but he has 2 or 3 misfit races where it just feels like he's irrelevant for the kind of equipment he's in. So yeah, that's going to be the big question. Can he get those points when he needs it? Would you define him still as we go into 2026 as a championship contender?
Oh, absolutely. He's without a doubt a championship contender. He'll be in the conversation. Obviously, he was in the conversation for the regular season championship in 2024, a season where he actually missed the Coke 600 and still was 1 point shy of a regular season title. So it's not that Kyle Larson can't points race. It's just that I don't know if that's his bread and butter compared to some of the others.
I don't disagree with you. I think we'll have a few disagreements, but it's not coming here on Kyle Larson. All right, let's look at Chase Elliott. He finished 7th in 2025. I think he's built for the chase format. I think this move to the chase format benefits him the most because I think he's the most consistent week in, week out driver of the HMS camp. That is not me, nothing from the kid from Dawsonville and fire up the siren and all that sort of things. That's great. I'm not too biased. I think he is. I think he's built for this format. This much more consistency based, less kind of backed into a win and got hot at the right time sort of format. I really think he excels at those long seasons and points protection. He always keeps it clean. Really, you can make an argument he was the most consistent driver of 2025. I think coming in, the pressure's always high on Chase Elliott, right? He's got some maniac fans just like Junior did, and I'm not putting any of them down. I'm just calling a spade a spade. We know a few of them. And, he's got some wild fans, so the pressure's always high, but the results usually follow. I got to tell you, I think he might be the way too early championship favorite of 2026. What's your outlook for Chase Elliott in 2026?
I agree and disagree. I think Chase Elliott is. I think this format is suited better for him because it emphasizes consistency a little bit more than it does winning. But with the added points given for winning races, I do think you're going to have to win in this chase format. And that's one of the things I'm concerned about with Chase Elliott. I'm not concerned about his ability to run well. I'm concerned about his ability to win because if you look at his 2 wins last year, both of them came with late race passes, one of which on the last lap at Kansas. Now he ran well to be there, but there was pit strategy involved with that Kansas win, and then Atlanta. It's more or less a super speedway race. I mean, not saying that those wins are not valid and that Chase Elliott didn't deserve them, but I think you're going to have to rack up more than that. You're going to have to be up front, winning races and winning stages, because at the end of the day, running well is great, but I think you're going to find that with these added points, I think the champion's going to come from somebody who has won more races than just two.
I think you make some great points. Let me give you a softball. At least I think it's a softball. Does he continue his streak? I think he's up to now 8 straight most popular driver awards. Does he make it 9 in 2026?
It almost feels wrong for Chase Elliott to not get a 9th in a row just because he is now symbolic with the number 9. I don't think that gets challenged really for the. I don't think that stat truthfully gets challenged until Chase Elliott retires.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I think he's got a chance of putting Austin Bill and Dell Jr. to shame in that particular category, but we shall see. Let's move on to William Byron. He finished 4th in 2025. Some might say he's the championship favorite. He's another one that he's strong on everything. Intermediate tracks, road courses, points accumulation. He knows how to stack those finishes. Oh, by the way, he's won back-to-back Daytona 500s. So pressure doesn't get to the young man. We can say that. Doesn't get any bigger than the Daytona 500, as you know, and so we know he understands that. He kind of, and I don't know if it's because of his personality. I don't know if it's because he's Chase Elliott's teammate. He kind of, for as great as he is, and Big Bill Byron with his humongous hats is becoming a truly elite driver. And frankly, we might be already talking about him as an all-timer if he wasn't driving the iconic 24. But you kind of forget about it because he doesn't fall short like Bowman. No disrespect to Bowman, we'll get to him shortly. He doesn't have rabid fans like Chase Elliott, and so I think if Chase Elliott is not your favorite coming into 2026, is William Byron it?
I like the 24. I think William Byron is kind of the in this next gen format. I think William Byron is the happy medium between Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott. I think he knows how to win, and he has the consistency of Chase Elliott. The one thing that they'll have to avoid, and I don't foresee this being a problem for them because I think a lot of their summer slump, if you will, in 2025, I think that came from them experimenting a little bit for the playoffs. So I don't think that'll be a problem per se, but that is something that they're going to have to avoid. But I'm really high on William Byron. If it's I've got a couple drivers that I'm looking out for as a championship favorite, but William Byron is certainly on a very short list of drivers.
No question about that. Absolutely. I do. I really like where he's at. I just feel like it's a strong program. He continues to, it feels like, get better every year in terms of more consistent with wins. Again, back-to-back Daytona 500 champion. You can't start any better than that. And again, that proves that the big moment is not too much for him, because do it once, okay, maybe you're Derek Cope. Do it twice, you're an elite level. You're an elite level. And I'm not putting down Derek Cope, by the way. To win it is amazing, but you just put different, multi-winners in a different category. With that, let's keep moving it along. Let's talk about who Freddie wanted to talk about. Let's talk about Alex Bowman. He finished 13th in 2025. Now, a lot of people would love 13th. I don't want to put that down. I don't want to knock that. But he does feel like he's got the most pressure in the lineup. The Chase also removes that winning you're in format, where you can kind of find a win throughout the year at Hendrick Motorsports. You can kind of piece it together and get a little luck and get a lot of hard work and all that sort of thing. I do think he has got the most pressure out of the lineup. And it's not that he ever really fails. He just doesn't meet the Hendrick standard, it feels like. Is this the year that he's truly on the hot seat? And if it doesn't work out, we could see him elsewhere.
I think so. I think maybe not so much because of Bowman himself, but because there are so many other drivers with open contracts at the end of the season. Where if you had take Alex Bowman's season and you take it to pretty much any other team, say from maybe Gibbs or Penske, 13th in points and making the playoffs, 16 top 10s, 6 top 5s. That's you're looking at a successful season for pretty much anybody. And I think what hurts Alex Bowman so much is he is surrounded by success. He is surrounded by 3 drivers who made it to the round of 8 in the playoffs last year. He's surrounded by drivers capturing checkered flags, and he's surrounded by history, right? He's surrounded by championships. His own number that he drives is synonymous with championships. I think those things often, play to Alex Bowman's disadvantage. But yeah, I do think, talking about Freddie's comment, I do think this is the year that we see him on the hot seat because, you do have guys like Carson Hocevar. You do have guys like Connor Zilisch. I've even thrown out, as kind of an oddball, even Tyler Reddick's contract is up at the end of the year. So, who am I to, if I'm Rick Hendrick, who am I to say, I like Alex Bowman, but I like Tyler Reddick too, and he's, so it's not that I think Alex Bowman's a bad driver, but I think the circumstances don't necessarily play out well for him. And I think if he doesn't perform this year, I think he could be out at the 48.
And to be in his defense, because I agree with you, but in his defense, if he does get cut from that contract or cut from that car, there will be a lot of B tier and C tier teams falling over themselves to try and sign Alex Bowman. To try, and there will be a lot of teams that go that that might shift some rides, and that might make a Hayek or a Legacy go, you know what, we got to do everything we can do to get Alex Bowman because his resume, as great as it isn't compared to his teammates who are probably all guaranteed to go to the Hall. His resume, if he becomes a free agent, is going to be stacked. The only person that would really compare resume-wise and truly surpass him is Kyle Busch. But we all have doubts about where Kyle Busch is in 2026. We shall see about all that. What we want to do now is we want to take a quick break before we get to the rest of the team previews. Give us a moment to catch our breath, take a quick drink, and maybe you need to, take a tinkle or use the facilities, whatever it may be. With that, stay tuned. Don't you move a move. We're going to talk Team Penske. We're going to talk Joe Gibbs, and we're going to talk whatever else comes to mind. And that's a dangerous thing with me and Justin. And so stay tuned. Give us about 2 minutes, and we'll get right back at it. We'll see you in just a minute. again, friends and neighbors, and welcome back to this edition of The Racing Angle. I'm Logan Morris with special guest Justin Seeger from Running on Scuffs. All right, we just talked Team Hendrick, Team HMS, Team Wins a Lot. We can just call them that for short, And let's start talking about Team Penske. Let's talk about the captain's bunch. Before 2025, remember they'd won 3 straight big ones as far as championship goes. The captain, got those 3 Fords. They're always a championship closer. We always kind of have that Penske summer slump. And I got to tell you, of all the teams we're covering tonight, this is who I think is most affected by the format change. This is who I think is most affected by far, no question, because that Penske summer slump is a real thing. And I know somewhere we got a friend named Ryan Hill sitting up going, oh, that's garbage. But no, you see it as often as I do, Justin. Around the summertime, they have a stretch, kind of as you start in that May, June window, where they tend to all of a sudden start competing more for top 10s and top 15s. And so let's get into Team Penske some more. Obviously, they're strong on those intermediates, and those certainly they're strong at Talladega and Daytona too. They are a strategic team. We see what Joey Logano does, and Paul Wolf, and they risk it and get biscuit sometimes. I think 2026 with the shift, I do. I think it hurts them. But I think they might be the most cerebral team of the 3 we're talking about tonight. But let's kick it off with another guy that might be on the old hot seat. Let's talk Austin Cindric. All right, you can make an argument he continues to grow in that cup role. He's got the Talladega win, and he is always a threat at the super speedways. He is also an underrated category cat. We kind of forget in the era of SVG and Connor Zillage, he can run well on road courses. It's just not as special as an SVG, a Connor Zillage. When we first started talking about where might Cindric get his first win, road courses were mentioned. A lot of people forget the old, the big brouhaha at the old Indy road course with Denny Hamlin and all that. That feels like a lifetime ago, but it really wasn't. So, obviously the super speedways and clean execution, but on those intermediate tracks, on those kind of week to weeks, he gets a little invisible. I want to ask you right now, because his father is out due to the big IndyCar scandal. His father's out of the organization because we always said, well, Tim Cindric's there. He's got a ride free as a breeze. Is Austin Cindric on the hot seat in 2026? I want to know right now, yay or nay.
Yes, but I think Alex Bowman's more on a hot seat.
Catching strays at this point. He thought we were done after the break on him.
And that's nothing against Alex Bowman. I think I don't know. I think Austin Cindric, if they've got to clean it up, but I'm starting to see improvement from him. I mean, he was running better on average in these 1.5-mile races, these cookie cutter tracks. He was running better than at most of them than he was in previous years. So I do think that there's an upward trajectory for him. I do think that, could he be on the hot seat? Absolutely. And for the same reasons as mentioned, for the same reasons that was mentioned for Bowman. Just look at the contracts that are up. I think of my mind's going directly to Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick has those Ford connections. He was at BK racing in the Truck Series. Who's to say the captain doesn't take a quick look at Tyler Reddick and go, I could probably win more with him than I could with Austin Cindric. So I think just the sheer amount of talent that's open, I think that almost puts almost everybody. If you don't have a contract locked in for 2027, I think you are on a hot seat. But as far as Cindric is concerned, it's very easy to look at him like Bowman and look at the success that's around him. You talk about the 3 championships that happened before 2025, Two of them were Logano's, one was Blaney, and a lot of people were going, where was Austin Cindric? Little trivia for folks, and you can say what you want to say, but who won the first next gen points race for the Cup Series? That was Austin Cindric in the 2022 Daytona 500. A lot of there's a lot of stuff that goes into that, but I like where Cindric's at. Is he on the that goes into that either chase or having a career style here?
Look, I got to tell you, I think he is on the hot seat, and I think you're right about the reason why, but I think you're underplaying how much he is. Because if you look at Tyler Reddick, and people will say, well, Tyler Reddick's 23-11. He's firmly there. Yeah, we thought that with RCR too, and then all of a sudden he shows up on a live stream press conference in the Zoom era. So don't give me that he's too good for it or any of that. No, if HMS or Penske or Gibbs calls, he's certainly going to take the call, and that's as nice as I'll be. I don't think Austin Cindric is bad. Again, he's a guy that I think right now he's a victim of, your teammates are Hall of Famers. Joey Logano is probably the greatest driver of the format we just left, of the era that we just left. And Ryan Blaney is certainly not doing too bad himself. He's a champion as well. And so comparison is the thief of joy. It's also the thief of rides on occasion. We've seen that before. My guy Eric Jones comes to mind, right? I think the reason that he's in the 43 is not so much about his lack of success; it's his lack of success compared to who he was at Gibbs, right? I mean that certainly always plays a factor. I think Austin Cindric's seat is warm because again he doesn't have his father there to kind of play buffer, and I'm not suggesting he was given the ride solely because of his father. I am suggesting that given that the last name Cindric feels probably a little hairy in the offices at Penske right now, maybe a firm, clean break could, if the results aren't there in 2026, especially when you've got a guy like Tyler Reddick who could be available. And here's a kicker, folks. I just want to throw this chaos grenade in there. I don't think he's going anywhere, but Kyle Larson's contract is also due at the end of the season. If I'm Team Penske, if I'm Joe Gibbs, I am saying, here's a check. You put whatever number you want on it. Because not only will you get success on track, you are bringing a slew of fans with you. We know that Kyle Larson is more popular post scandal. You can have your opinions on that, on why or what, and that's fine. It's not the show for it. I'm just stating an undeniable fact. He moves merchandise. He moves merchandise, and that is another reason why they're like, you know what? We will gladly fall over ourselves. All right, let's talk Joey Logano in his bald era, in his stone cold era, in his looking good era. Again, leaving the format we just left, he's got 3 championships. He is the ultimate playoff era driver. He thrives in those high-stake moments, those long-term strategy battles. He does play psychological warfare. He doesn't lie about the fact that when he puts that helmet on, he's a different dude, and it's not the nicest of guys. Again, he's another calculated guy. He and Paul Wolf, he absolutely will take a risk, and they'll do things that you wouldn't think other people would do. Because Joey Logano doesn't lie to you about what his job is. It's to be damn good at what he does, and he is that. The question is, can Ford close that gap on Chevrolet? I think they'll have a chance to do that because remember, Chevrolet is going to the new body, and that might take some time to adjust to. And while that new body looks very, very similar to the current body, a little too much for my liking, to be honest, those small things that we hardly notice can make all the difference in the world in how the race car runs. I'm just pointing that out. If Chevrolet wins first of the 5 of the first 8 or 9, then I'll look like a liar. We can clip this and go, here's the hot take that failed. I do think that Ford early on will have the ability to close on Chevy. because they'll be adjusting to the new body. And while it isn't an adjustment for us, it is adjustment at the shops. The qualifying speed is always there at super speedways, but elsewhere, not always. So let's talk about Joey Logano. Again, I think he is the perennial player. When we define the era that we just left, and we might go back to it in years, I don't know. Didn't think we'd go back to the chase, and here we are. I think you'll see his face when you define this era. So coming into 2026, is he still a perennial championship favorite?
I definitely think his chances take a hit with the format, just because he races. It's just not necessarily the way that Logano himself races, and certainly even Penske. But people forget, and we can go back, we can redo stats, however we want. But that we've had lovely folks who have gone through this and taken the now new chase format and gone all the way back through 2014. What if we ran this format? And Joey Logano is a 3-time champion in the playoff format. He would have been a 4-time champion in the chase format at this juncture. So, I mean, to say that Logano can't race in the chase format, and again, I know there's the well, they would have raced differently in a chase format. I get it, but I mean, it's not to say that Joey Logano can't race in a chase format and can't compete. And I still think the one thing that benefits them is the 16 driver field. Because do I think Joey Logano, and we'll talk about Ryan Blaney a little bit too in this. Do I think Joey Logano is hurt by this format change? Yes. Do I think he's going to fall outside the top 16 in points? No. Which means he's going to be there. He's going to be in the conversation for this championship. And who knows, maybe it is just in time for Roger Penske and the Penske group to say, all right, let's start on the Jets and let's go win this thing. And Paul Wolf and Joey Logano are some of the best at this because they are not afraid to take chances.
Big ball Paul, baby. Big ball Paul.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And so I think Joey Logano is still very much a championship threat. I don't know if he's necessarily a favorite for it, but I think people who are writing him off going Joey Logano will never win another championship. Just I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm not saying you're right.
We're wrestling guys on top of racing guys over here. So you're saying never say never. I like it.
Exactly.
Never say never. All right, there is one more driver to talk about in the Penske family, the Penske bunch, the trio at the captain's corner, and it's Ryan Blaney. But I don't feel like we alone should talk about Ryan Blaney. I feel like we need somebody that really kind of studies and follows Ryan Blaney.
Do we know anyone like that?
Well, I happen to know a gal. She's much better than I, and she hasn't been on air in several weeks.
Let me tell you why.
Okay.
Ryan Blaney is going to blow the other two Penske drivers out of the water.
Okay.
And I get you guys are saying, well, Austin Cindric could be on the hot seat. Joey Logano's mad that the chase is here. He's gonna do bad because the playoffs are gone. Well, listen. Okay. There is team stability at Team Penske. Okay. There aren't really major shakeups at Team Penske. Like the crews are usually stable, the drivers are usually stable, the organization's usually stable. Penske thrives when the execution matters weekly. And Blaney specifically is a very consistent driver, and the Chase awards consistency. Okay? He doesn't need to win every week to win the championship. Okay? He doesn't need to dominate 2026. He needs to stay consistent. He needs to avoid disasters. And he needs to let the other people make mistakes. He needs to turn top 10 speed into top 5 finishes. He is one of the best in the garage at tire management, green flag long runs, adjusting over, race distance. I know he had a lot of DNFs last year, but those weren't necessarily his fault. He doesn't have a lot of self-inflicted mistakes.
Uh-huh.
There's no need to win or panic anymore.
Mm-hmm. So is he your championship favorite in 2026, Peter? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
All right. That was very violent. Marley tuning in. Marley, your lovely fiance, Justin. She said, "It's my girl Peyton." It is. Producer Peyton is in the house, and boy, did she come with some fire. And that we need to clip that little deal, right? Whatever that was cool. That was so. You have no doubts or concerns about moving to this new format for Ryan Blaney, producer Peyton.
People talk about even year Logano.
Uh-huh.
Well, the hair is gone, and so is even year Logano.
Okay, I'll take. I hope that makes the YouTube channel. Hope that makes the YouTube channel. I mean, that's up to our producer, but I feel like that was some fire. That was some spice.
Definitely worthy of the clip.
Freddie says Blaney wants. So Freddie's he's hopping on the train. Of course, I mean the way you sold it, he's going to win all 38 races, right? All-Star, Daytona, all of them.
I don't see why not.
Okay.
Have you seen his mustache?
I have seen his mustache. It is a fantastic stash. You talk about, you talk about Manly Mountain right there. Yep. Any final thoughts before we let you go back to the producer's box?
I'm just tired of the slander. What slander? I don't know, but I'm just tired of it.
Marley says that that Ryan is giving Dale Senior vibes.
Like I said, I'm tired of the slander.
I was about to say, coming from Marley, that's not a compliment, but
yeah, for some reason, Dale Senior lived a whole lifetime before Marley and still found a way to piss her off. It's weird to me. But that's all right. That's all right, Marley. You keep bringing those comments. We appreciate you. You can tune in every single week and tell the Racing Angle and Running on Scuffs that Dale Senior's overrated. That seems to be your belief. And if you and in today's era, today's life, if we believe something, we just shout it from the hilltop. So you just keep coming on both those podcasts and any other racing podcasts you want to watch, and you can just tell us why you think that's the case. That's all right. It's all right. It's free country. Live like you want to live. All right. Well, I didn't say there's not much about Ryan Blaney that I could say that producer Peyton didn't say, and so with that, what do you make of producer Peyton's analysis, Justin? That's all I'm going to ask you here.
I have thoughts, but I'm afraid to slander him. Like I'm afraid she'll come back and just
she's in charge, boys.
I do worry about Ryan Blaney. I do worry about the DNFs. I agree with Peyton wholeheartedly. Almost all of the mistakes that happened to that 12 team were not his fault last year. Almost every single one of them. However, this is a team sport, and Ryan Blaney doesn't get points just for being handsome or being a good driver. If his team messes up, he loses points because of it. Do I think that takes him out of title contention? Not a chance. I think Ryan Blaney is certainly a championship threat. And I agree with Peyton in almost everything she said about Blaney, about his talent as a driver. He is good everywhere. He knows how to get points. This is a driver who can start at the rear of the field and still get stage points in stage one. There's not a whole lot of drivers that can manage that. But Blaney's one of them that can do that. So I do believe he'll be a championship threat, but I think the team does have to clean up some of the things that cost them.
I don't disagree with you, and that's as far as I'm going to say because I don't want to get in trouble. Margaret says she for sure thinks that Blaney will be better than Logano this season. Freddie says he's the only one that's been here since day one-ish. That's right. Just him, Moose. Just him. Day one-ish. But we appreciate all the comments. Keep them coming, y'all. And there is one more team we got to talk about tonight. And matter of fact, it's really the reason why we had the pit road preachers from Running on Scuffs on, and so we got to chat about them. We got to chat in depth. Let's talk a little JGR, a little Joe Gibbs Racing. All right, a little Joe Gibbs Racing. That's right. Look, there's not much. Look, there's not much you can say about Coach's team that haven't been said, but we're going to give it a shot. They, of course, are the flagship Toyota organization. They got the 4 cars. They are high ceiling, high velocity, always a contender. They're great at their short run speed. They're damn good at their pit execution. They got drivers coming to the prime at the right time. But always that consistency can bite you. Can you do it over what is going to be a 26 race season, and then can you do it over the final 10? They were fast, but the winds kind of came in bursts, not in waves. Sometimes they started out strong, and then other times it felt like they'd fall off just a little bit. And then right as a fall off would happen, then a Denny Hamlin or a Christopher Bell or of course Chase Briscoe would get you right back in the win column. So again, the playoffs are gone, and they want to turn those speeds into steady results. If the execution improves, and I think it will, Toyota can dominate stretches. Let's start out with the man who is the senior driver at this point at Joe Gibbs Racing. He's had he lost the championship in heartbreaking fashion. And, of course, our prayers go out to him for the loss of his father, and we pray that his mother is continuing to recover. He is elite at everything you can be elite at. Long-run management. He can read races, and he certainly can maximize points days. This format favors him. If you felt like his window was closed after the way he lost last year's championship, and I know it was controversial for a lot of folks, but a lot of people saw that as a closing of the window. And maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But if you felt it was closed, you at least have to admit it's cracked back open with this format, because consistency plays into his strength. Consistency and long-term plays into his strength. What's your take, Justin? A lot of people thought his window was closed given the emotional toll that coming up short took, and then we know what he's going through off the track with his father now, and we're praying for his mother. But I think this format, and again, I know compared to what he's dealing with, that doesn't mean a whole lot, but I think this format opens up the window again just a hair. I don't know that he has long, more than a year or two, but I think if it was closed, this format opened it up.
Look, I'm about to say something that a lot of people are going to not like. I am not. Look, I'm not a Denny Hamlin fan. I don't, I've got a 19 hat. I've got a 20 hat. I don't have a 54 hat, but I would certainly buy one before I bought an 11 hat. As far as my Joe Gibbs Racing thing. But look, Denny Hamlin, we're about to witness the most historic NASCAR, one of the most historic modern era NASCAR seasons we've ever seen. Denny Hamlin is going to win this championship. There is no doubt in my mind. There is no doubt in my mind that Denny Hamlin is going to be the 2026 NASCAR Cup Series champion. I witnessed back in 2017 Of course, everyone knows my ties to Truex. I remember watching 2017, and every single week that Furniture Row Racing and Martin Truex Jr., every time something would happen to them on the team, it fueled their fire. And almost every single time they won, including in the championship race. We saw 2019 what happened when JD Gibbs passed away. We saw what Joe Gibbs Racing did. It was one of the most historic seasons for an entire organization that we've ever seen. Denny Hamlin is going through a lot right now. He was already he was worried about the possibility of losing his father after his 60th career win. He said multiple times himself, due to the state of his father, God rest his soul, that it was more than likely going to be the last chance his father would ever get the chance to see him win a championship. And then to lose it in the fashion that he lost it at Phoenix, the most heartbreaking way you can possibly lose a championship for Denny Hamlin. And then obviously the incidents that have happened over the course of the offseason for him. Denny Hamlin is going to be the most fired up driver we have ever seen. And I personally think that makes him unstoppable. I don't like to say that. I'm not a Hamlin fan. I personally, it wouldn't bother me from a competition standpoint if Hamlin missed the chase. But I don't see that happening. I think we are going to see Denny Hamlin go on a tear. I don't think he's going to be able to be stopped. I said it earlier when we were talking about Kyle Larson. If you were to ask me to pick a driver on any given week to get a win, I would pick Kyle Larson. If you ask me to pick a driver on any given week to give me a top 5, I'm going to pick Denny Hamlin.
Look, and your fiance agrees with you. She says, I definitely think he's going to dominate this season. He is super consistent, and he has so much motivation coming into the season. I think it's going to give him the drive to get it done. We'll see. I'm not going to make any championship predictions. Freddie says window isn't closed yet. He's got a couple years left. I agree. I think it's this year and next. He always could choose to stay for more seasons at JGR or his own team, but I do think he's probably done after 27. Too soon to say for sure, though, so I'm not gonna make any guarantees on that. No Loganity takes there. You feel like he's certainly got more laps behind him than he does in front of him. Let's put it that way. And so, yeah, I think he is the most consistent. He is the most consistent driver at Gibbs, and this format really benefits him. All right, let's talk about. Let's get to your gear. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's get to that big number. Number 19, who is apparently not bald. Today he had a big mullet in production day. Chase Briscoe. Let's talk about Chase Briscoe. This was his breakout year, right? This was the year that to us NASCAR fans, he became a household name. And I do want to eat a little humble pie here. A little humble pie. I've said some negative things about Chase Briscoe. And I don't want to say I was wrong yet. But he certainly, if he can have anything close to another season like this in 2026, I won't have any plausible deniability anymore. I just won't. And I was not high on him coming over to the 19, but let's be honest, he does enter 2026 with that stability. The familiar, he's familiar with everything, but now he's got those raised expectations. Obviously, he's great at road courses. He's great at adaptability, the technical feedback. He was just consistent week in, week out. Give me your 2026 take on Chase Briscoe. Does he build off that incredible breakout season? Does he take a step back? How you feeling?
Obviously, it's no secret that I'm in the Chase Briscoe camp. I've got some Christopher Bell gear too, which I could always swap if I needed to when we get a little bit later. But Chase Briscoe, he's my guy. The 19 is my team. I love the 19 crew. Obviously coming off of Truex. I got to say, I think in a true prediction, I think Chase Briscoe takes a step back. this year, just because he came out of the gate so quickly, more so than I think anybody expected. I predicted Chase Briscoe to be in the round of 8. I did not predict him to be in the championship 4 this year, and obviously the win at Talladega helped kind of put him in that situation. But he was there nonetheless. I mean, he was third in standings, the best qualifier of all of 2025. But and by take a step back, I still think he's going to win, 2-3 races perhaps. But I think the 19 team still has a couple of kinks to work out. Some things that were better alleviated in the playoff format that may not be in the chase format. There are some times where they would qualify really well, and then they would slide back outside the top 10. And then maybe you see them come back up in the top 5 at the end of the race, which that's great, but you're missing out on stage points. And I think with this chase format, I think having those stage points and being able to compete up front the whole race is going to be important. So I think Chase Briscoe takes a step back, maybe a top 6 in points. That sixth in points is kind of where I'm thinking for him. Maybe he proves me wrong, and I'm certainly hoping he does. But that's kind of my outlook for Briscoe this year.
He's one of those guys. He and the 19 team. It's going to be very interesting to compare how they run races strategically this year versus previous years. He's somebody that I think it's going to change how the entire 19 crew produces their strategy week to week. That's going to be very fascinating. Again, he made me eat a lot of crow, and so he's proven that he can. He's got a couple of wins at SHR when they were certainly on the downward trend, especially that Southern 500 win, and now he's had great success in his first year at JGR. I am inclined to think that he takes a step back as well, but I don't know that that's because of him. I think it's because of guys like Denny Hamlin, who I expect to be really, really strong. And again, sometimes we all forget that if somebody rises up, somebody's got to go down. That's how it works. That's just the way it is. That's life. And so I'm very curious to see what happens there. But I expect him to take a small step back. Now, here's a guy that I think might have the highest upside in the garage. Let's talk about your other booth thing, if you will. And I don't mean Marley. I'm talking about Christopher Bell. We'll see Bell. If this format doesn't benefit Denny Hamlin the most, it does benefit Christopher Bell the most. There are still pages where you can find the old, what would the standings be if it was the old Winston format. And Christopher Bell doesn't ever leave the top 3. He is consistency personified. He is day in, day out. He is your early morning workout, your eggs in the morning. He's easy like Sunday morning. That's just the way it is. Even his lulls are not lulls. They're just not necessarily winning. He had a strong start to last year. You've seen him win the Coke 600 and the controversial rain call a few years ago, pardon me. And he is just, ever since he got to the Cup Series, even in the old 95, he has been consistent and outperformed expectations. And now he's meeting huge expectations. Is this the year where, I don't want to say that he's not, but is this the year where Christopher Bell becomes a bona fide household name, undeniable? Because I feel like this could be it.
It certainly could be. I agree. I think Christopher Bell is the definition of consistency. People kind of lost sight of him after he won those 3 straight, and was like, where'd Christopher Bell go? It's like he's still running in the top 10. It's just not, it might not be as flashy as those 3 in a row were, but he's still winning races. And he's still running well in races. He's getting the stage points that's needed. He's doing what Chase Briscoe, I think, is not, and that's competing well throughout the whole race. And oddly enough, you could say that he and Briscoe have opposite issues. Whereas Briscoe, he may fall out in stage 1 and 2, but he's still going to be there to contend for the win. Bell he's going to run consistently in stage 1, stage 2, and then something's going to happen, and it's going to knock him out of that checkered flag. But still very consistent. And like you said, he's any of these points conversations you look at, Bell's going to be in that conversation. I definitely think he's one of those, like, if I'm given a list of 5 drivers that I think are going to contend for a Chase championship, I think he's on that list for me.
Completely agree. I don't see a world where he's not top 5 in points. I mean, I just don't see a world where he's not. He is, he's getting ready to hit that prime and go on, I think, a major run. And as long as Gibbs as an organization keeps clicking, I think the sky's the limit for what we're about to see from him, especially in this era. All right. One final driver I want to talk about tonight. I know we're running a little over. Justin's been very gracious with his time, but wanted to get these drivers in and get these previews in. We got to talk about the biggest variable of the JGR stable. Some say he's on the hot seat. Some say he's not because of his last name. But he is the biggest variable, both in personality, both in performance, just everything. He is the true wild card of Joe Gibbs Racing, and that is the grandson of the coach, Ty Gibbs. He can be an emotional guy, and I think sometimes that bites him in the keister, so to speak. He can take some risk and get upset, but 2026 is much more about results. So let's talk about results. He has not found a way to get that win yet, that ever elusive checkered flag. Now, there's been many greats that it's taken a long time. In the modern time, it took Chase Elliott a long time to get that win. There was a lot of seconds and thirds before the man he called Jimmy Jam helped him out at Watkins Glen. There was a lot of seconds and thirds. And week after week, month after month, year after year, the siren would gather dust. And then he got it, and then overall it's come in bunches with the championship and all that sort of thing, and still 2 last year, even in a kind of a down year as far as wins go. But let's talk about Ty Gibbs. First question, is this the year he gets a victory?
I think so. I think he's gotten too close at this point. I see the Chase Elliott comparisons, and I agree with it. I think I think some people forget how long it took Chase Elliott to get over that hump. And Ty Gibbs, it has gone a little bit longer now. But I think Ty Gibbs he's there. He's right there. And I think as far as getting that race win goes, I think he does do that this year.
I agree. I think he gets that race win. I'm gonna say one. I could easily see 2 because again, when you get that first one, it takes the proverbial monkey off the back, and all of a sudden you're living right. You're feeling good. Everything's clicking. There's a little skip in the step. Does that mean, in your opinion, that he certainly makes the chase? Does he crack the top 16?
I think he's a bubble driver. For me, I think he's one of those drivers that could be in, could be out. I think he's going to be around. I don't necessarily feel like he's going to be a top, safe top 10 driver. But I do think I think he's going to be in the conversation for it, and I think if he can learn to be a little bit more consistent, hang out with Denny Hamlin or Christopher Bell, and just lean on them and let them show you how it's done. And they can at least get you there because certainly the equipment's there.
No question about that. And let's play a hypothetical here. If for some reason he doesn't get it done, if for some reason he doesn't make the chase, if for some reason he doesn't win, with all the contracts that are coming due, is his seat warm? Or is he firmly ensconced in the 54 or at least a Gibbs ride?
I think he's safe just because of the name. And honestly, I think that plays to his advantage. Where a lot of drivers are going into this season going, I got to perform well because of my contract. I think there's a little bit more leniency on Ty Gibbs in that, and I think that makes him more comfortable, and that might help him out. We lose track of just how solid of a road course racer that Shane Van Gisbergen is. And I think everybody's so hyped on the Connor Zilic train. Let's not forget Ty Gibbs is a beast at road courses. And we're at a point that I think if anybody can figure out how to get over the hump and beat SVG in one of these Cup road courses, I'm tempted to believe it could be Ty Gibbs. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously, SVG is the favorite. Anytime you go to a road course, what he does is just special. But I think looking at Ty Gibbs, I don't think he's on the hot seat. I think he'll have the ride as long as he wants it. I don't think coach is looking to boot the grandson, because at this point, I think the only prospect you even remotely boot him for is Corey Heim, and I think there are other plans in place for him.
It does appear to be that way, and I'll tell you what, if that were to happen, and we don't think it will, but if that were to happen, boy, the T would be big time, because we know that Corey Heim and Ty Gibbs, at least reportedly, are not the best of buds. So yeah, that would be something. All right, we got to wrap it up. I know we've gone over, but I appreciate you being so gracious with your time. But I want to ask, where can people find you? Where can people follow you and see what you're doing?
Well, I just want to say a quick thank you for having me. It's been great to be here on the Racing Angle. I hope this is the first of a few appearances throughout the 2026 season.
Oh, you'll be back, brother. You'll be back.
And we look forward to it. I'm always looking to talk NASCAR. Where you can find me usually is at Running on Scuffs right down there. You can look us up on Facebook, on Twitter, YouTube, a lot of other major platforms. We're on TikTok as well. And we do have runningonscuffs.com, our website. So you can't find us yet in 2026. So you can always find our old content, including some of our best clips from 2025. But if you are looking for some fresh content, we will be back live on air February 2nd at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. Central Time. So we'll be back the Monday right after the Clash, and we'll be ready to go right back into it.
All right, so Running on Scuffs back right after the Clash, February 2nd. I got to ask before we wrap it up, are you going to be bringing back some of those big bold predictions of yours? That's always one of my favorite episodes of the year.
Oh, absolutely. We'll be burning a little bit of rubber. And we'll be getting ready for some hot takes. Sometimes our comment section says that they're not that hot, so we'll see how it goes. But we'll certainly, I'll be bringing that little Denny Hamlin piece with me to the show Monday on February 2nd. So we'll be doing some hot takes. That'll actually be on episode 1 of the season. So.
Well, looking forward to watching, and if you need a substitute, I don't want to invite myself, but if you need a couple of wild takes, I'd be glad to sit in a few times this season. And Justin, I just want to thank you for coming on, and most importantly, thank you for your friendship and support and your love. You and Marley have just been wonderful to Peyton and I, and we love you to pieces, as my grandmother would say. And so just thank you for coming on. And we look forward to having you a few times this year. And but again, most importantly, just thanks for being a not only a friend, but a brother. Thank you so much.
It's truthfully an honor. And as always, I appreciate the same love that you give to Marley and I. It's truly an honor. And it's an honor to be here for the Racing Angle, and look forward to being on again.
Absolutely. So with that, for Justin Seeger, again, check out Running on Scuffs February 2nd. They'll be back live in a living color, and that hot take show is never one you want to miss. Marley, we love you too. Thank you so much. For producer Peyton, who absolutely cut the promo of the night as far as I'm concerned. That's got to be, it might be a couple clips on social media about that. And Freddie, thank you. Marty, thank you. And thank you for anyone that is listening or will listen in the future. We appreciate you. Until next time, until next week, don't move. More team previews are coming. And until next week, again, make sure to follow Justin at Running on Scuffs and pay attention to what he's doing. Good man. You want to support him. And he's got some hot, bold takes. And you know I like it hot and bold myself. So until next week, I'm Logan Morris. This is the Racing Angle. We love you. Ain't nothing you can do about it. And I'll see you at the next track.